Hello again, dear friends, dear brother or dear sister. So this is the 8th video in our series, of on the path towards gaining that holy ground of absolute happiness, or a happiness that is not conditioned by anything which we may come across in this space and time. And the title is quite interesting of this video. I was just checking with my friend, what's the title? So it is Ending Negative Energy. Look at the word. Ending means that you absolutely annihilate it. You actually bring it to an end. So listen very carefully to that video 7, the previous one, and then you will be able to get the essence of this video. So starting from where I had left previously, we talked about the spiritual heart. So if I stretch my hands and if you draw that circle, basically we had to discuss that is your aura. So what are the bodies in your aura? The physical body, we know now it's the etheric body, and then comes your estil body, and then comes the mental body, and then comes the intuitive body, and then the spirit body. Make yourself familiar with these, right? Now what happens is that let's give an example. That say there is a big river, very wide. So how you are going to cross the river? We haven't learned yet how to fly like the birds, so naturally you are going to build a bridge, right? And then you go across the river. So similarly, how do these thoughts and these feelings, they come into you, you see? So what happens is that from your spiritual heart, there is a bridge. This spiritual heart is what you call as the 4th psychic center. So this bridge is actually connecting right up to your spirit body and your intuitive body. And as we are coming down, there is the mental body and the estil body, right? So your mental body is the source of your thoughts. So there is a small side bridge there, like when you are going on a highway, there are flyovers and you can go to side streets, or side lanes. So like that, there is this small, like a flyover on the side, which enters into your mental body. Then you come down a little bit more, where the estil body is, there's another small flyover which goes into your estil body. And then of course we are entering into what you call the spiritual heart. Now from the spiritual heart, you see, there is one main psychic nerve rising, which actually in Sanskrit it is called Sushmana, right? But then the other names for it is the Atmic Nadi, or the psychic nerve of the spirit, right? And then it is also called the Pranic Nadi, or the main psychic nerve of the etheric body, right? Another name which comes to my mind is Amrita Nadi. Amrita is actually Sanskrit word absolutely pure, right? So this is the pure psychic nerve. So this rises from your spiritual heart. It goes up to that 7th center, the pineal gland, right? And your pineal gland is connected to your mental body. From there it winds back. So I'm just going to turn around and it's winding back actually, right? So then it flows down, covering the other centers, and eventually it is coming down to the solar plexus, and then going down to the 1st and the 2nd centers as well. So this is the structural setup. I hope that you have actually followed. If not, listen to the video 1 or 2 times and you will get it. It's not rocket science to understand it. Now what happens is that, you see, this is how thoughts and this is how feelings flow into you. When you breathe out and you breathe in, there is a small, like 1/1,000,000th of a second gap between each inward breath and each outward breath. In that gap, you see, the thought flows from your mental body along this to your spiritual heart, and then it goes up through that Amrita Nadi, or the psychic nerve of the spirit. It goes to your pineal gland, and that is where then by the various systems in the brain, not going into the detail, thoughts flow into you, right? This is how thoughts come into you. Think about it. They don't fall from the sky or from your neighbor's house or from anywhere, right? So similarly, positive impulses or positive emotions flow in the same way. In the gap between the two breaths, the emotion flows from your astral body along that channel, to your spiritual heart, rises up through that main psychic nerve, and then after having reached the seventh center, it flows down, and then it reaches your solar plexus, and this is how feelings come into you. It's quite beautiful actually. This was actually virtually just communicated to me by one of the sages, that this is how thoughts and this is how feelings flow into us. But the beauty is, and look, it's a clockwise function, right? And these thoughts and these feelings are those 90% positive thoughts and positive feelings. And I'll just add one more thing here. You see, remember in one of the videos I had said that intuitively you are actually able to see anything which is there around you without the interference of thought or feeling. Now how that happens is that you see this light of consciousness. This light of consciousness flows from your spirit body and your intuitive body along this same channel, right? And basically then it flows up from your spiritual heart to the seventh center, and then flows back, and this is basically how you are conscious. Remember I said that consciousness living in that state is actually absolute happiness, because there is no karma there. Now you see, this is how 90% of the thoughts and the feelings flow into you, and this is your everyday natural experience. Look, 90% of the time you do have good thoughts and you do have good feelings, but it's that 10%, the negative energy, that actually we are trying to capture. Now say for example, I suddenly see a lion here come in front of me, right? Or a very bad spirit actually appears, and this person called Anil is suddenly full of fear, right, and is frightened. Or the two sisters, sensuality and sexuality, have come, right? You see, that is all negative energy actually. So what happens is that now the feelings do not actually flow along this channel to the spiritual heart. This is the point to be noted. These 10% of negative feelings flow from your astral body, they flow into the solar plexus, they rise up to the spiritual heart, and then they are distributed wherever they are supposed to be distributed, right? And eventually then they find their way up to the seventh center, they flow down, and then they flow out from the solar plexus. Same thing happens with the positive thoughts as well, but positive thoughts, positive feelings, not positive thoughts, positive feelings also flow, but they flow directly into your spiritual heart, up the channel, the main psychic channel, and then they flow back into the solar plexus and flow back into your astral body. This is how the feelings enter and they leave. But the only difference is that the 10% negative feelings are actually flowing, you see, from your solar plexus, entering into the system from your astral body directly, and then making their way in, and eventually they also follow the same path and flow out. Now let's come to negative thoughts, because negative thoughts are then followed by negative feelings. Now negative thoughts as well, you see, as I had said before, positive thoughts flow along this channel into your spiritual heart, they flow up and then they leave from your seventh center or the seventh chakra, or the where the pineal gland is, because the seventh center is connected to your mental body, and that's where the thoughts flow out. Look, this is how thoughts come and this is how thoughts go. Have you ever thought of that? Where do the thoughts come from and where they go? But now, these are all positive thoughts. You see what happens when there are negative thoughts. This cycle was clockwise positive. The cycle goes anti-clock. How does it go anti-clock? You see, from your mental body, the thoughts actually flow in the reverse direction. So they enter from the 7th center, finding their way down to the spiritual heart, and then they are distributed wherever they have got to distribute. So what happens is, you see this 10% negative energy which is flowing through you all the time is the one due to which you are kept along your destiny, and you keep on reincarnating from one life to another, and you are controlled by your desires, and one will hardly or seldom reach this state that which we are talking about, which is called absolute happiness or unconditional happiness, which has been attained but by not many in the entire evolution of human history. So now, coming to the conclusion of this particular video, the 8th video, absolute removal of negative energy. See, you always know when negative thoughts or negative feelings come into you, and I've already given you the exercise. Give a break for 3 minutes. If not 3 minutes, well, make it 1.5 minutes then, but 3 minutes is the perfect time. But you see, if you don't, you immediately know that how the energy is flowing in your physical body. The energy must always flow from the spiritual heart. Positive thoughts and positive feelings. The moment this negative energy is coming, there is a reversal, and that is why you have anxiety, you have anger, and you name it, right? So now you know the actual mechanism. Having known the mechanism, you see, once you have clarity over something, you don't need to worry about it. So if you really keep this in your heart and work on what actually has been communicated, I don't think that it will be very long, and these negative impulses will say goodbye to you, and then you don't need to listen to these videos. You are in that state of absolute happiness or unconditional happiness. Thank you. We'll move on to the next few videos, in which I will continue to give you more exercises on how to overcome your negative karma and attain perfect or absolute happiness.